Welcome in to episode 12 of the Cougar Digest podcast. I am one of the hosts this evening, Rob Sellers, publisher of the Cougar Digest website, joined as always by Kevin, digital dude, wherever he's going to go by. He's a little frustrated tonight. We had a little hiccup trying to get started. Technology is always the winner, right?
Yeah, technology.
Undefeated.
Yeah, it won today.
Exactly.
It won today, and it made me angry, but I'm all right. I'm back.
No, I got you. That makes sense, We're coming Sunday. We're recording Sunday night. This will probably be out some point tomorrow.
Or maybe tonight. You never know.
Maybe tonight. True. Maybe late tonight. We'll see how it plays out. But coming off Houston's impressive road Baylor win in overtime. Just an impressive win. I know Baylor was a little bit lesser of an opponent, obviously, in Kansas State and even some of the other Big 12 teams they've played thus far. But in the end, a win is a win, even if it's ugly.
And on the road.
Yeah, and on the road. And like it's been pointed out, first newcomer to win a road game over an existing Big 12 member.
Yep, over a legacy member.
Right. And then obviously the first team to get 2 wins over legacies with West Virginia and Baylor now.
Has BYU?
Right. I don't think BYU, because I know their first one came against like Cincinnati or somebody like that. So, or UCF. So I think they're close. I think it's either equal or Houston's now ahead one. I don't know who they play this week. Well, actually, they play West Virginia. Oh, no, West Virginia handled them pretty easily, if I remember correctly, looking at the score.
Yeah.
So I think BYU's got a win against a legacy and, again, a win against one of the other newbies. So that's going to get convoluted more this week as Cincinnati comes to town, obviously another newcomer, and then UCF's still on the coming up on the schedule in a few weeks. So we'll see how it all plays out. I know a lot of people have pointed out that they think Dana Holgstrom's going to be judged a bit by what the other peers at the same level have done, and I think that's one of the points I think that will come into consideration, but one of many. So while I do see that the Cougars have done probably is at least equal, you know what I mean? No less than equal, maybe even just a half step better than the other newcomers.
I would say
that's one good piece of the whole momentum of the program.
I would say so. I mean, I don't know if it makes if we were more ready than UCF. I thought UCF, had more depth on their squad, and they have a really good coach over there also.
Right, and also coach. You know what I mean. Injuries week to week. Houston's had a few weeks where they missed some guys. I'm sure other teams are in the same exact position. So it's tough from 10,000 feet to be able to look down and see everything. I know we can dig more into it as the season gets closer to wrapping up, but.
We'll have the Cincinnati guys on this week to
enlighten us about that also. Those guys from we hopped on with their podcast. They do a lot as well, just like the Kansas State sites do. So we hopped on with them just before the season, just to talk in terms of another newcomer. So we're at least familiar with those guys. We'll have those guys this week. We'll probably be on theirs. They'll be on ours, and we'll do some other site content switches and whatnot behind enemy lines like we always do. So.
Yeah,
that'll be a good week. Cincinnati's a good week. It was a little tough getting everything worked out, timing and schedule-wise with Baylor last week, so we ended up skipping the pregame. But again, like I said to open, man, what a gritty win on the road. You give them credit again. They didn't quit. This team, like people have pointed out, if you give them one thing, they never stop fighting. They never quit. At least that's fair to say about this team, and that's at least a piece of the character of the team. And I know people are wondering about the identity of the team and this and that, but let's give credit where it's due. I mean, this team has fought in every game just about. Kansas State is obviously the outlier at the moment that you can argue in the first half of Rice. Obviously, I don't think that they didn't fight. I think they sleptwalked through the first half before they wook up.
Well, with Rice, it wasn't even the first half. It was the first quarter. Same as Texas, it was the first quarter. That they finally woke up. But that's another thing that we characteristic that this team has is just they're slow to get started. Yesterday, and let's talk a little bit about the game yesterday also, since that's the game that was most recently played. Not the Kansas State one. We're trying to forget Kansas State at this point. And just repress it back in those memories that we don't want. But I agree with you. The team showed a lot of heart, showed a lot of character. I think a lot of people were expecting this team to just come in there and just lay down, and just kind of give up the rest of the season. But obviously, these kids aren't like that. These athletes on this team are like that. They're a lot of pride, right? They're playing for themselves, playing for their teammates.
Some good upperclassmen leadership.
School, some good leadership, and also we started seeing some depth on the field also.
True, and you pointed out during the game. I know you texted me and said you started to see a little bit more depth, and I think that you're right. It goes to them switching more to using that 3-3 defense, as well as some injuries needing them to push some guys into starting roles, and so you did see some depth and some guys that performed pretty well. Traylon Payne, obviously, a young linebacker that came in and got more playing time yesterday, and
he got a sack or two. I think.
I had a sack or two, and I know he's back there at least one more with Nelson right behind him. So. Again, Nelson Caesar, another great performance from Saturday. I mean, this guy
sacks.
missed some, comes back 2.5 sacks, and I know they kept saying on the broadcast about who he's going to be playing on Sundays, but
I agree with
him. He's a good one. He's going to be one of those guys that absolutely, in this day and age in the NFL and the way it works with edge rushers, he's got to roll. You know what I mean? He's got to roll somewhere, and so he'll get his shot like everybody else has.
Another slow start to the game. I think it was 7-0 at the half, right?
Something now, defense a little bit better of a start, and I think that goes hand in hand. A little bit was better competition, lesser competition, obviously, than in the last couple weeks. That's part of their success. Was Baylor's also a team that's down and desperate a little bit right now, facing their own set of circumstances that have been challenges to them this year. But I think that had to deal with a little bit of it, but again, pretty much for the most part, like everyone's more worried about, the offense again sputters a bit out of the gate, or a lot of bit out of the gate. Takes a little while to get going. It's one of those games that was so low scoring, you figured at any point throughout pretty much the whole game, you're like, wow, I mean, you never felt confident, 2-score lead. You weren't confident that the Cougars were going to pull it out and hold out. But again, going back, they fought through everything, and in the end, they come out with a win. It's kind of hard to it's like the West Virginia game, even though they won it on a Hail Mary, which is such a low probability success rate or whatever. Nonetheless, it goes in the W column. It doesn't have an asterisk next to it. So
I agree with all that, but it's still just, why do we have to have a heart attack every time we
why does it have to be so stressful?
Why can't we just keep a lead and protect a lead with a minute left in the game? Why do we always have to give up these long drives? Why do we always have to give up a long fourth and long? It seems like every time at the end of the game, the team has a 4th and 18, 4th and 38, whatever it was. Okay.
Whatever.
We still gave it up. And I texted you also on that fourth down, right after that fourth down. I was thinking, why didn't Coach Holgorsen call a timeout? Because honestly, the defense looked like they were a little gassed. They were just getting pushed down the field. You have a 4th and long, you have a timeout to burn. You still have 2 left, right? You could burn one. You can obviously give your defense just a breather. And you can also take a look and see how the offense is setting up, and then you can adjust your defense that way. I mean, I don't know why you didn't call a timeout. And it's not like they just went up to the line and ran the play. I mean, they actually gave him some time to actually think about it and call a timeout. So it's just little things like that I think can make a difference. Would it have stopped a 4th and 18? Maybe. Who knows? Right? But at least the players would have been had gotten their breath. And they could have been able to strategize a little bit more to what the offense was giving them. I mean, and look, it was a fluke thing. You don't expect a guy to scramble for that long, but still, the defense looked a little gassed at the time, and I just thought, it wouldn't have been a bad idea to call a timeout right then and there, just to give them a breath and just to see what the offense is going to do.
Yeah, and they've been on the field a lot by then. The defense, even early in the first half, I knew. They were doing such a good job of keeping Baylor off the board, but I knew it was, it was one of those things like, man, they've been out there a lot. I mean, if they don't start scoring a little bit and give them a little bit of breathing room, by the second half, fourth quarter type deal, they're going to start getting worn down. I think that played a part in it, obviously. But again, they grounded out, they got it done. They come back and more than anything, seeing the smiles on everybody's faces, as the time expired. And those guys have been fighting pretty hard. It's been up, it's been down. There's been this and that stuff going on inside the locker room, outside, this and that. You know what I mean? It's
a lot of distractions at this
in the end, right? A lot of distractions.
A lot of distractions.
To overcome that on the road and to win a game. I think that's again admirable. Now let's move forward. It seems like it's gotten to that week-to-week point in the season, and with everything in general with the football program, as basketball gets set to tip off Monday night. Football's literally going like game to game on seeing is there going to be is the way the rest of these last few games plays out going to be a major issue and lead to a major offseason, or is this going to lead to a bowl game at least, and a generally less chaotic offseason than the ulterior?
Yeah.
So,
well, it would be hard at this point to pick up, on high school recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. Even though I know it didn't, it's been discussed on the board, and even I could say in hindsight that just the answer in the moment that Danny gave on his press conference, or excuse me, on his coaching show, the answer in the moment. There's people out there looking for it to be spun the most negative way possible, but to be fair to them, he gave them plenty of fuel to spin negatively. So it's one of those things. I don't, see what I'm saying? It's like the offseason last year with Sam, and the offseason in the story about not worried about the buyout and F and this and that type deal. It's one of those deals that there are people, I think, looking for the most negative, but don't help them and give them fuel by doing things like that type thing. So
right.
I think it has been tough. A lot of people weren't certain on the board why the coverage wasn't there. And I tried to explain nicely that the coverage wasn't there because, things had dipped a bit. And, in the summertime, it was good. They got that big rush of commits.
Oh, yeah.
And then they hoped to build some off the season. And then the season happened. And it's been a roller coaster. And I think the effectiveness of their recruiting has been a direct result of that, so to speak. I think they've had guys in there working a flip from the 24 class, and they'll continue to work on.
Oh, yeah.
They've had some JUCO guys now that have been in, and I think that'll continue this week. So, again, we could beat this to death, but it's going to come down to the offseason. It's going to come down to if this staff is the answer moving forward, so be it. They're going to have to hit a home run in the transfer portal this year, with the offensive line specifically. And there's other spots they need to do well in, but absolutely, first and foremost, with Pat Paul leaving, Jack Freeman leaving, Joey Baines is leaving.
Caesar leaving.
Unijay's leaving. You see what I'm saying? Just on the O-line, everybody's leaving.
Yeah.
You got Pancake coming back, obviously, but other than that, I mean, there's a few guys that have some potential there, but man, you got to really hit some dogs in the portal this time of year. Maybe this time it's different.
I agree.
But
what keeps running through my mind, right, is and we're not, recruiting isn't the star of the show today. It's supposed to be, the Baylor post game, but it all ties together, right?
It all feeds.
Exactly. At this point in time, Coach Holgerson has 2 years left on his contract, right? So at this point in time, you either look to extend or you look to make other arrangements, right? And you can't, something it keeps going through my head that I just can't help but think that other schools, other coaches are just using the situation against us to negatively recruit.
Yeah. You can guarantee that at this point.
Yeah. And I don't know. And Rob, you could probably speak a little bit better to this, but it just seems like recruiting this year seems to be just strange. It's an anomaly. It's almost as if you had 90% of the commits committing over the summer. Which normally it doesn't seem to happen a lot like that.
Right. You generally get that boost in the summer. Obviously, kids want to commit before their senior year, and you get that boost from that. But the in-season stuff, well, exactly. No, not all of them at all. Don't get me wrong. This staff, in terms of being able to lock a few more guys, I mean, they've had guys we've talked about on the site that they've gone after and missed. And there's like I said, there's still a few guys they're chasing, and that's fair. But at this point, looking at it, unless they pull a rabbit out of the hat, it's going to be looked at as a down year for recruiting, and that's it's a hole that you can't allow to influence years down the road. You know what I mean? You're getting two really good guards in terms of recruiting from the offense, from the high school level, in Raekwon Bell and Snacks McLean. Those are two really good guards, really well thought of.
But we're not expecting them to contribute right away. I mean,
right? No, exactly.
Years down the line,
So exactly, in terms of who you're looking for guys to contribute in next year, when these guys I was just talking about leave, those are guys you should have had on the team already a couple years ago. Those are guys like, unfortunately, I hate to beat a dead horse, Trevante Sylvester, who's now playing at Louisville. guys like that chose to leave
Cam, yeah.
when Brandon Jones left, and that's fine. That's fair. You're going to deal with that either way.
Yeah.
Just the miss in the portal last offseason and the carryover to the miss in tackles this recruiting class is one of those gaps that's going to come back and haunt you later if you can't hit a home run in both ready to play guys from the portal as well as young guys close to being ready to play. See what I'm saying? You now have to backfill that younger generation, so to speak, a younger class that you didn't have or that transferred out. So again, I get it. You know, they've got challenges as far as recruiting, and I agree to that. And we've talked about it over and over on the site. But at the end, and like a few episodes ago, when I kept saying in year 5, it's not the same. You don't get the same leash, so to speak, in terms of excuses and this and that. Excuses, every staff will have them, and all of them will be, probably right.
Right.
But again, in year 5, just like Holgerson said in the offseason, that 4 years is a long time when he got rid of Brandon Jones. 5 years is a long time, and so either you're heading in the right direction or not. And then higher powered folks than you and I will be the final ones to make that decision. And if it is, we'll be here. We'll be ready to run and cover it. And if not, then we'll cover what they do in the portal and recruiting between now and February. So I'm kind of in a bit of a helicopter mode at the moment. I'm keeping tabs on the 24 guys that are committed. I'm keeping tabs. Several of them have gotten hurt, and Jamison Kitten has gotten hurt, and he's done for the year. And Caleb Thomas, if I'm not mistaken, for North Shore is done for the year. And who else? There's another one. Maurice.
Mo Williams got hurt?
Not Mo Williams, but the quarterback down there that we were, the Shadow Creek 25 wide receiver that was playing quarterback for him.
I'm
an idiot. But
Ja'Cory? Was it Ja'Cory?
Yeah, Ja'Cory Watson. There you go.
Yeah.
And so they ended up putting Kobe Sellers down there at Shadow Creek at quarterback after Ja'Cory Watson went down.
Yeah.
So again, I keep tabs on the 24 guys, make sure where they're at, they're happy. You know what I mean? Are you keeping in contact, this and that?
Right.
Because that's the important part of the 24 class at the moment. And then I'm kind of in helicopter mode waiting to see, are they going to make a push here in the portal? It's fluid this year. It's super fluid in terms of spots that they're going to have to give out here. And I know we've been discussing having only 8 commits, but the NCAA is kind of opening it up. You can sign as many as you want now. They don't care how many you sign anymore in terms of the 25, but you have to fit them under the 85 still on your roster. So when you look at who Houston has graduating and leaving the team, that'll give you a better idea in terms of how many spots they have to fill in the class to stay under the 85 spot. But then on December 2nd, when the portal opens, if a guy leaves and he's on scholarship, that'll, see what I'm saying? It's so fluid this year that, all I can do is try to react in the moment. It's not going to be as much of a heads up as it normally was in terms of the recruiting process. Won't be as long during November, December, January, February as it was in years past. But it'll be hectic. But it'll also be it'll be fast moving. Either there'll be a new staff trying to recruit, or this staff will be trying to close on the portal guys they need to be successful. So either way, it's going to be fun. It'll be hectic. Basketball will be going. We'll start dipping our toe into that as they get going on Monday. Yeah, I think we can fight 2 fronts on that as far as football, basketball between all of us, me, you, and Gatlin.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think we'll be all right.
All right. Back to
what else?
Let's go back to the game. Okay. I
get in left field quickly, isn't
it? Isn't it like squirrel, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Good and bad from the game yesterday. Obviously, win is obviously a good thing. It still seemed that at times Donovan was still a bit slow getting that ball out to his receivers, but you just week to week, you just hope that he's getting better and better and better at it. I mean, his numbers were still pretty good yesterday. 21 for 26, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. We're finally implementing the tush push, play on your short down yardages, and it seems to be working, which just makes your head, scratch your head about why we weren't doing this.
Yeah, exactly. That would probably be my number one question post game. So we'll see if it gets asked tomorrow morning at the press conference. But
might be the first question.
Why now? Basically, I know it sounds a little crazy, but why now after all this time? Because
it worked.
Maybe it's Baylor. Working. Maybe they saw something with Baylor. They felt it would work, but
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously,
we'll see tomorrow morning what Dana has to say about it.
Yeah. It would have been tougher against Texas or Kansas State, but I mean,
but
what about everyone else?
Then let him say that. Let's let him say that then and explain that, and so be it. You know what I mean? That's why I would like to ask that.
And he will. He'll you know,
right? That's fair.
I have no doubt that he will.
Yeah.
You know, he'll tell you it all. It's Big 12. It's a different type of football.
I know. You're going to get just as much cliche as you're going to have truth from him. But
yeah, his mantra. Okay. You know, we're in the Big 12 now, and we know this. We knew that there was going to be a step up in competition. You know, but that's why you should have been getting the team ready. You know, last year, recruiting better. You know,
tell you what, man, it's roller coaster.
It is. It is. And we're not the only team.
Overall season, it's roller coaster. Week to week, it feels roller coaster.
And, you know, we're not the only team in this boat. You know, there's a lot of other teams in this boat. You know, there's a few other new schools to the Big 12 that are, you know, probably not having years that they were hoping that they would have also, as well as teams that were already legacy teams like a Baylor, who is not having the kind of year that they had hoped for.
Oklahoma State was down for a few weeks, and now all of a sudden they beat Oklahoma.
In the last Bedlam game, you know, as far as scheduling goes, you know,
in the near term,
you got to think Oklahoma's going to want to get revenge at some point. So they're probably going to schedule it again at some point in the future.
Y'all's odds of getting a reschedule just went up.
Exactly, just to get that
last word in.
Yeah, but interesting things going on. But yeah, the tush push obviously came out and it was, I think, a difference maker in the game yesterday. I believe there was a MHP sighting in the game yesterday also.
Was there really? Did he get on special teams or was he in on?
No, he was in there during the play. I saw him and Wilson both in there at the same time.
Must have been later or no?
Might have been second or third quarter, somewhere around there. I have to go back and take a look again.
I missed that. I'll for sure have to go back and do that on the replay. For sure. That's good for him. Although I figured to see him eventually for sure.
Yeah.
Just, you know, where's he at? I haven't talked to him right before the season started. I ran into him in the hallway up there type thing, caught up a little bit more just, you know, how you adjusting to school and this and that. How's your dad, family, and all that? You know, homesick type, you know, just whatever. I didn't care so much about the football end of it, but he's the one I've said on the board a few times. I was expecting to take the longest to see the field, just in terms of he played as an athlete and just all over the field in high school. Never really got to focus on being a wide receiver. So unlike Jacoby Banks, who also played a little quarterback but played most of the wide receivers last year, unlike Jonah Wilson, who played wide receiver in high school, they had time to really focus and work on that craft a bit, whereas, you know, MHP was more game to game. They played him all over the field, defense, offense, and, you know, in the backfield, you know what I mean, just wherever they needed him, he was the best athlete on the field. So it's higher ceiling, in my opinion, for MHP, but a quicker path to see the field for young guys. And I explained that on the board, too, in my thoughts from the morning after with Dalton Carnes. I think he's out there right now because, A, he's 1 year further in.
Yeah.
And B, he's that guy that may not have as high a ceiling, but he's already at the point where he's consistent and he gives you the same look every single play. So, you know what I'm saying? When your quarterback is a 3-yard, you know, a 3-step drop and he looks in this spot and that guy should be in that window, he's in that window. Whereas another guy may not be quite as crisp, or, you know what I mean? Whenever you can do everything like that to help your quarterback out. And obviously he showed again in the Baylor game in that drive, you know, in the second half where he had 2 big catches on the drive. Yeah, absolutely. He belongs on scholarship. And I think it's the right thing by the staff to push spot, which circles back later to the earlier conversation in terms of how much room do they have in the class.
Yeah,
that's something you got to account for because they've told him he's coming on scholarship next year, which is going to count in this class. So
I remember hearing that. That's a good thing, you know.
But that is good to see MHP. I know Jonah Wilson's been in there already 1 or 2 games, but Dana Holgerson touched on it in the last press conference a little bit in terms of as we get close to the end of the year, that window in terms of trying to get these guys to 4 games, get them in there, get them some experience, and all that becomes more cognizant to the staff. They're starting to pay a little bit more attention to make sure they get everything they can for these guys in terms of a little bit of experience down the stretch. But I didn't see MHP in there. That's good, though. Good sign for sure in terms of long term.
Yeah, I agree. And he'll obviously see the field next year.
Yeah.
But I can't. I had something in my mind. I can't remember what I was going to say.
I apologize. You know
that's all right.
We're back in left field again.
We always seem to be in left field. McCutcheon, freshman McCutcheon got in there as well on the defense.
I did see that. Now he had a pretty good game, right? Yeah, and this is not his first game, but he was actually in there at linebacker. He'd been doing some special team stuff before. I know he's been on there at linebacker as well before, but no, for sure, he's starting to be that guy where he's starting to get more and more experience and starting to see the field more in terms of, hey, we don't want to make sure and get him his 4 games, but more as, hey, this guy can contribute and help us be a better piece out there. So, yeah,
that's what I was
sure.
going to mention. That's what I was going to mention. Is that we could still get these guys some playing time and still be able to redshirt them this year, even though they've got some experience on the field.
Yeah, so if they play 4 games or less, they can still redshirt. So
there you go.
They touched on it a bit, like I said, on last week's press conference. There's a few guys he was kind of spitting out in terms of who's played this many games. So the staff's clearly tracking it, and they're going to make sure these guys get in, but also don't lose their red shirt. So, barring any weird injuries that would mess the depth chart apart, that was bad. The depth chart up really bad. Yeah. I don't see any freshmen busting the red shirt stuff unless it just becomes a necessary thing.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's
because at this point, why not try to go ahead and save it?
Yeah, no,
that extra year on the back end would be much more better to them. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, it's a good strategy. Get them some playing time, get them some field time. You can still redshirt them and save that year.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about where we go from here. What does this win do for this staff? Does it buy them more time? I mean, what does it do?
It does. I feel like it kicks the can a little bit further down the road, so to speak, for another week, just to see. You go back last week and it was disappointing. You go back this week and it's gritty, and they fought and showed, fight and this and that. So it's week to week. I talked about it being inconsistent from the top down in terms of how it's been playing out this year. And so just as much as you want to credit what they did this week, and they deserve credit, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
You, in the back of your mind, you just don't understand, or you have no confidence in what's coming next week.
Right.
I don't think anybody would be surprised if they come out and grind out a close win over Cincinnati at home. I don't think anybody would be surprised if they came in and looked bad and didn't compete. And I also don't think anybody would be surprised if they came in and blew them out a bit, because Cincinnati is also, you know what I'm saying? I don't think a single outcome is going to shock a majority even of the fan base. You got so many splintered right now over where things stand and what they want to do. Is it time to move on? Is it not? You know what I mean? It's just so many different opinions out there right now that we see that. I don't know. I think the win kicks it down the street another week, so to speak. And,
I agree. I think that win gives them at least the end of the season. I think it gives them at least the end of the season. But what about? But after this, okay, let's say for instance that we get to 6 wins. They decide to keep Coach Holgerson as the head coach. Okay,
right?
Is Belk going to still be?
Yeah, that's the biggest question. That the very first question that comes to be, exactly. And I think even more than the overall staff, I think these next few weeks, because I mean, you give them credit. It was decent against Baylor. I know I know the first thing that's going to pop up is the 4th and whatever, and I get that. Yeah, that's
every time. It's not just one game.
I mean, yeah, it's been consistently a problem. So whether you can explain it away, and we have explained it away a few times in terms of a player making the wrong read and guys dropping to, again, it feels like a broken record. But in year 5 or even year 4 for Belk,
it's results oriented.
It's less easy to explain away. Yeah, exactly. It's more results oriented than it is explain. You can explain it away and I get it. Another year or two, they'll have this locked down. Here we are, year 4, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. Again, I think Belk's shown some promise. He's shown some inconsistency as well, like everybody else. And I think, like I said, even he, as much as the overall staff, is probably kind of really fighting to see how things are going to play out over these last few weeks. If he can kind of piece some things together despite injuries, and now you got Caesar back and Jamari's been back in there. Dot's still, he went out last game and also came back. So guys like that, if you can overall continue to keep that health and can you continue to have a little bit of growth throughout the season, you couldn't ask for much more than what they did in the Baylor game overall as a defense. I know, like, again, the 4th down, but in terms of giving up points, holding them to a lower point total, knowing your offense only had so many points in it, it's one of those.
I agree.
Like I said, I guess there's no better way to put it than kicks the can down the road for another week.
Yeah,
before you make a final decision. We might get to the final game of the year before we make that final decision,
and it would make sense to do that.
But you're right in saying that if the leadership, so to speak, decides to keep Dana Holgerson past this season, does Doug Belk also survive that situation? And I think that'll be the number one question that comes up as soon as that decision is made.
Yeah, and that's what we do, right? We want to try to guess what's going to happen next.
Anticipate a bit. That's right.
Exactly. But that's the fun part about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, a win's a win, I guess.
A win's a win. I know. And the same thing I texted somebody after the West Virginia win, no less. You know what I mean? It's one of those 12 seconds difference between a miserable loss that people would have really been fired up about because of the whole fourth down situation, the last drive situation with West Virginia and busting that big play to be able to even score to tie it up. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
you wipe it away 12 seconds later with the Hail Mary. It doesn't change what happened, but you at least forget about it, and it keeps you from, again, it kicks it down the street another week. So this has kind of been the theme of the defense this year. So we'll see. A win's a win.
It makes sense.
If you stack enough of these ugly wins up, Dana Holgorsen will be the coach next year.
Yeah, I'm tired of winning ugly. I want to win pretty. I want to be able to hold a lead. My God, I mean, if we didn't get that 2-point conversion at the end of the game, I mean, our conversation would probably be a lot different.
And I talked about that. I was watching the game with a couple of buddies, and you and I were texting, and a couple other people were texting, and I'll be honest with you, I was concerned they were going to get that, and I said, I so respect going for 2 here. And right before the play, I'm just like, if you don't get it, though, man, this is about to be miserable because everyone's going to second guess you going for it. It's great when you get it and you got the stones of steel, so to speak, for making that call and going for it and running the horns down, as they've said it's been called now. For running that play, that was the same play they were going to run, he said, against Texas. Had they scored on that last drive, they were going to run the horns down, go for 2 type thing. So it was successful. And to the victor goes the spoils. Had it not been, you go check the Baylor board on how they feel about Aranda this week type deal. You know what I mean? It's razor thin right now between both those schools and the fan bases.
Wow. It's fun being in the Big 12, isn't it? The games seem to mean more.
It means more fun. It really has. Yeah. And I think you'll see the same thing carry over to the basketball season next week. I really do. I think you're going to see, obviously they're going to start with non-conference and all that, build up to it. But when meat and potatoes and it's time and everybody's had a couple months or, 6 weeks to get their team set and ready and you enter Big 12 play, that's going to be some dogfights this year. I mean, there's some really good basketball to be played in the Big 12. So
it'll be fun.
If you enjoy the competition, at least the closeness or the parity, so to speak, in the Big 12 this year, hold that thought as we get into basketball season because it's going to be it'll be a dogfight, a lot of games, man. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fun.
It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of good matchups. Almost every game in conference is going to be, hellacious. And then you bring in Arizona next year. Into that
it doesn't get any easier. And then you look at football. You bring in next year. You got Colorado,
Utah,
Arizona schools. Arizona State's done a good job early on of recruiting Texas because they got a lot of Texas ties over there with Samples and Brian Carrington. Those guys are out there now. So I mean. It doesn't get any easier. Who was it? It was you. No, it was you that brought it up last week. We were talking about them coming in, and
I wanted to.
I was going to work out. I was like, man, this is getting depressing. Look at Kevin, man.
It's a little dose of reality. Yeah. Well, I was thinking more about that. And I mean, you get good players out of Florida, right? You get good players out of California, and you got good players out of Texas. The only difference with Texas is we're surrounded by states that want to get into it.
Yeah.
California, it's a cross-country trip to go to Florida. It's a cross-country trip for some people. For Texas, it's a drive-in, and that's why it's a lot easier to recruit Texas, and that's why you have everybody recruiting Texas,
It'll be interesting to see how the staff adjusts or whatever staff adjusts.
Build a fence around the city.
You know what I mean? To that, with having Arizona in the mix, do they feel like they can reach into California and get a little bit better because they'll be out in Arizona every year, so to speak?
Yeah.
Or Colorado, it's closer out there, so to speak. So if you could get some kids from California, convince them, hey, mom and dad, once a year, twice a year, you don't have to drive very far to come see us. It's one of those things type deal. And it'd be interesting to see if whatever staff or any of these staffs as these new Western schools come in, how it adjusts how they approach in terms of whether they want to go out there and spend the resources and dollars, so to speak, to devote time out there and try to get some guys. Because what's going to happen to the Pac-12 and all those California kids, you know what I mean? They're going to need a place to play. And the SEC is going to take the cream of the crop as well as the Big 12 and everybody else. So Big 10, obviously they're grabbing a foothold on the West Coast as well. So it'll be a fight. It'll be interesting. There's tons of things to follow and see how it develops over the next few years. It's going to be no shortage of things to talk about for sure.
Well, a couple of California schools going to the ACC as well.
And that's right. I mean, see what I'm saying? Like in the ACC, also have an SMU, and it's going to allow that section to even have more, as if people, like you said, people already come to Texas. But now you can tell those kids too, hey, once a year we'll be back in Dallas, or, once every other year. So mom and dad will be able to see you at least. And
yeah.
You know how it goes with these recruiting pitches and all that. So,
yeah,
man. I mean, as if we thought it wasn't enough change in the last little bit of time in the NCAA football and basketball as well. Buckle up. It's the next couple of years or no less amount of changes coming. So,
I like to keep it real. I don't like to sugarcoat things. It is what it is. And you just have to look at things from a realistic way. And I don't care if it, hurts anyone's feelings. You have to deal with the situation. You can't just, close your eyes to it.
True. That's fair.
And it's not what I never look for is excuses. I look for root causes to be able to fix whatever problem that we're having. And that's a root cause. Is just everybody comes here to recruit. It just is.
Yeah, it's a tough state to recruit in. It really is, and a tough conference. But over the years, you would hope after seeing many years of kids picking Iowa State, Kansas State,
Arizona
schools
State,
like that,
Maryland,
just because they were in a Power 5 conference and coming out of Texas and being able to get in a Power 5, Kansas even, Houston would lose people to Kansas back in the day, even when they were a lesser team in the conference. But it's one of those deals. That's the type of deals you got to stop from happening now that you also have the equal footing with the Big 12. Those are the kids they got to be able to fight and keep home instead of letting them leave. You're still going to lose your guys to A&M, Texas, SEC, LSU. You're going to lose a few of the cream of the crop, but there's so much left still to fight for. And so
I agree.
You got to have someone in there fighting and getting them on board. You got to have just as many wins as you do losses.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, injuries. We know Golden left the game.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like I said on the thoughts, when I saw on the broadcast he was in the back of that cart, I was concerned. Obviously, that never looks good. But it seems like more they were trying to get him up into the tunnel quicker instead of limping all the way up there in order to try to get up there and make some X-rays and see what was going on with his foot. Maybe it was a little easier to do it that way. So. Even though he didn't come back and play, the fact that he came out and warmed up a little, ran around on the sideline some, and more for me personally, seeing him out there rooting on his teammates there late in the game, and really like you could tell he's communicating with some of the other wide receivers when they caught him on the camera there, and he was like, you understand this is important. You saw him gesturing towards his teammate there, and man, I mean, just in terms of seeing something good from a body, from a standpoint in terms of what you're putting out with your attitude and this and that. I got concerned throughout the year with him struggling a bit. And you know what I mean? You worry about guys losing interest and the struggles getting to him a little bit. This guy loves to win. You know what I mean? He loves to win.
He doesn't.
He hates to lose more than he loves to win. So you worry a little bit about a guy like that allowing people get into his head over time as he gets frustrated, so to speak, in the offense. So to see him interacting there and giving that good body language on the sideline with his teammates and really not just being in the background sulking, I was encouraged by that myself. So
I agree. I saw that.
Hopefully, and I would assume he'll be back. Like I said, they acted like he could have come back, but even in the moment, I said at the time, like, it's not worth it for this game right here, right now. Like in terms of him making it any worse, you might as well just let him,
And we have depth at that position,
right?
So it makes it a little
bit. If there's
easier.
A spot you can afford to deal without him for a game, that would have been good. So we'll see how that plays out during the week. I don't expect us to get anything clear because, why would they go ahead and give Cincinnati any kind of heads up? But we'll see how it plays out. I would think he would be there this week unless he's had a setback since the initial diagnosis.
Yeah, he looked fine. Maybe he wasn't, good enough.
Yeah, he don't want to play, but.
But I expect to see him on the field Saturday.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll be sitting out. I don't think there was any other injuries.
I don't think there was any other major ones. I know I remember seeing like a Dari Halsey went off at one point.
Yeah, that's right.
But I want to say he came back after that. I know Dot went off early and then came back. He was in the tent, which obviously concerns. He's had struggles with that ankle and he got stepped on. I can't think of anybody else significant. If I'm missing anybody, we'll touch on it on the board. But
yeah, I can't think of anybody who left the game and didn't come back.
It's that point of the year where there's guys are going to come out and go in as they are dealing with lingering stuff, and
that's where depth
maybe need to retape something. Right, like you said, the depth. I mean, Latravian McCutcheon coming in, like you said, that's a guy that you had maybe you wouldn't have counted on 2-3 weeks ago, but he's consistently shown and made the most of his opportunities on special teams first.
Yeah,
he was a few weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago when he was consistently making plays on special teams, and he's earned more playing time. So it's good to see that. That's the type of thing you want to see. As you get in the Big 12, you got to recruit more of those guys that have the ability to actually be better than somebody on your roster and come in and fight for time initially. And by their second year, they're forcing to even take over if there's an upperclassman there. May the best man win, right?
And that's
the only way you get better.
Yeah,
the only way you get better.
Better competition promotes better play, right? So you want better players behind you because it's going to push you to be better. And if you're not,
Traylon Paynes look good, but if those guys get in the mix next year and Latravian's pushing him and he comes out ahead, so be it. You know what I mean? You got to have that staff that's willing to do that, regardless. I mean,
yeah, you got to put the best player on the field.
That's more talk for the offseason, obviously, but good signs for sure.
I didn't have any other notes.
I didn't really either. I mean, like I said, good game. We talked a little bit, and it's one of those TBDs in terms of I know it came up on the board with the news. Brandon Kemmel left late last week. Is no longer with the team. There's more to come on that one. So stay close to the site. There's more to play on that. So with the other one with Aussie, I'm not sure exactly. I'd heard that there was some sort of altercation, maybe some kind of situation that's happened before. They took him off of the roster, so I can only assume from those two things being what I was presented with, that he's no longer with the team or on the team, so to speak. So
there's potentially a third also.
And there's also a third guy. I followed up a bit on it. It's one of those things. If I would have been in Waco, I could have confirmed if he was there or not. I can't say with 100% certainty he wasn't there. I could tell you he didn't play in the game. I could tell you I talked to people who didn't see him.
Okay.
But without actually scanning the sideline myself, so I'm 99% sure that player was not in Waco. I'll look to try to confirm that coming out of Sunday and heading into Monday. And if I can confirm that third name, as far as last I checked, that person was still on the roster. So
okay,
I know I hate people don't like the teases and this and that. I just don't want to, put somebody's business out there if it shouldn't be just yet. So I would say more to come on Brandon Campbell. Aussie is what he is. I'd like to get more clarity and find out how absolute that is. Me thinking of the recruiting side of things, knowing that he came from Hutch. I know they continually chase recruits from Hutchinson Junior College or Hutchinson Community College. So hopefully whatever went down with that was warranted and justified, and it's not going to hurt him on that front. I know Brian Early's in there a lot for defensive linemen coming out of Hutch. So that's just me thinking a couple steps ahead on worst case scenario. But, we'll see how that one plays out. And keep an eye on the board. We'll update that as soon as we can. I'm hoping maybe to have some conversations Monday at the school before or after the press conference and be able to maybe we'll share a little bit more on the board Monday after all that's done.
Yep, that'll work, So everybody be sure to stay
Gatlin will hopefully be back soon. He's out of town on work. He was communicating with us this week. He got hung up. Where did he say he was? Do you remember? He was out of town. Oklahoma somewhere? Oklahoma City maybe? Or my hungover?
Nashville? No, I can't remember.
He might have said Nashville. Anyway, he's out of town. He's doing some work. And obviously, he's got to pay the bills first. So anyway, he'll be back soon. I think me and Kevin will work it out. I think I will be at the game on Monday for sure, basketball night-wise. Kevin, that would be tough for you to, come in post-school and all that. But I know you're probably excited to be there as well.
I might.
But I'm more worried about next Saturday as well. My wonderful oldest daughter's 13th birthday is on the 13th. That seems lucky. Maybe that's a sign. Don't do it.
Well, it's the 13th.
But anyway, so we'll see. She's having a birthday party next weekend. If I'm not at the basketball game, I think I'll be good for the football game. Very worst case scenario, I'll be watching the football game from home. And if that's the case, I'll still obviously be on the board and all that. But let's be honest, it's her 13th birthday. There's only how many birthdays I got left before she absolutely shuns me to the world and doesn't want to be around me some more. So I better make the most out of still not many. She's got the team.
Seven more maybe. And then after that, that's it. 6 or 7.
I think by the time she's 15, 16, she won't want me. Yeah. I'll be cringy. Worse than I am now for her. By the way, guys, that's the fun part. If you're not there yet, I know there's people ahead of us, behind us. That's the fun part. I'm to that point where now when I do my cool dad things, it's cringy to her. Dad, don't do that. You'll embarrass me. Oh, don't tell me that. You're talking to the wrong fella right here. I've waited 13 years to be able to embarrass you in front of your friends. Don't do that to me.
You got lots of material.
Yeah, I've been waiting. So anyway, we'll see how next weekend plays out. But I'm pretty sure, for sure, obviously one of us. I think it'll be me Monday night at the opener for Tita Center, and then obviously with the doubleheader Saturday between basketball, football. Some of us will be there.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how it plays out between now and Saturday. But yeah, basketball season is here. By the time you're watching this, it'll either be within 24 hours of the start. That's for sure.
I'll try to get this out tonight. I'll try to get it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, man, basketball season. I know you guys are excited. A little bit more stable of a program at the moment, more to be excited about. So, we'll be talking basketball more moving forward.
Well, we're starting out 0-0. There's a lot of high expectations. There's a lot of reason to be excited, right?
Yep.
Gonna happen soon.
Yep. All right. There you go. Episode 12, Big 12. 2 wins in the Big 12.
Episode 12 on the Big 12.
My daughter turns 13. She's 12 for another week. See, we can tie 12s. Anyway, hey, appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, share, retweet.
Tell your friends.
Facebook, drop it on there if you're on Facebook. I should be on Facebook more, but I'm not. I just stalk people on Facebook through my wife's account. So
I should get on social media.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna get the new kid Blake on here soon in Koviak. He's been doing some stuff for us, but he's also been being a freshman, and it's been awesome talking to him. He went on the road trip to Kansas State, went on the road trip to Baylor. He was front row, dead center for most of the home games so far. He's been doing the freshman student thing, and it's been good. I've encouraged him to do that, enjoy that, and then as things move forward, we'll get him involved more and more. But maybe we'll get him on one of these podcasts soon to talk to him about what it is to be a freshman that doesn't really know anybody. He's not from around here, so. He's living in a dorm with a stranger, and he's getting the full freshman life out of it. So we'll get him on here one of these episodes soon. Once football dies down, the craziness, we're looking for a little bit more time to fill. We'll get him on here and get him talking about what it's been like to be a freshman. So,
for sure.
But yeah, y'all stick around, check us out on the site, all those other good things, and we'll see you guys for lucky episode 13 at some point this week with the Bearcat Journal guys. Previewing the Cincinnati game this Saturday. So.
Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about the game on Monday, basketball game on Monday too.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that. We'll open up, recap it a bit of Monday, and then feed into the preview for Saturday. So yeah, that'll work good.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, as always, thank you guys for listening. Thanks, Kevin, for doing what he does to try to fight through and help this be a flying machine at times. And we'll see you guys next episode.